Using Google Drive to create digital binders is an organizational solution for students with executive functioning needs. It can be used in conjunction with that student's regular binder and color codes folders. No or little paper is exchanged. So I'm going to get started creating a digital binder in Google Drive. Right now I am on my Drive page, and to start the process I'm just going to click the New button, and I'm going to add a folder. Now, depending on the age or the needs of the student, you can either do this for the student or you can have the student do it, but I highly recommend sitting down with the student and actually showing them how to create a digital binder and have them be part of the process. So the new folder is just going to be the student's name, and I'm going to click Create. And here's my binder. The first thing I'm going to do is actually right click on the binder, and I'm going to color code it. And as you can see, there are a few colors to choose from, so I'm just going to choose one. Oops. Okay. And then I'm going to actually click on the binder. And inside the binder will be a place to store separate individual folders, just like a real life binder for each subject. So right now we're inside Gino Guglio's binder, and we're going to create some folders for him for each subject. Now I'm using an elementary school model, so I'm creating a folder for each subject. But of course, the structure of the digital binder is going to depend on what subject you teach, what area you teach. So just kind of go with what I am proposing, but kind of think of how it applies to your own realm. So I'm going to, inside the binder, click New again, and I'm going to create another folder. And I'm going to title this one Math. I'm going to color code this, and I'm going to make Math blue. Now, another neat thing to do is to actually create the digital binder and match it to the student's actual school binder so that it's even more organized, so that, for instance, your student has a blue math folder in his digital binder and a blue math folder in his real binder. And I'm going to create another folder for ELA. And I'm going to color code that. Science. And I'm going to right click on that and color code that. And we'll make that one purple. And a new folder again. Social studies. And we will make that one yellow. And a parent communication folder. So right now I have the shell of my digital binder. And like I said before, I'm creating this for the student, and I'm going to actually share it with him after I create everything. But again, if you would like to sit with your student and do this, I think it's a great exercise in teaching organization. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create subfolders in just math and ELA to show you examples of how to do that and how specific you can make it. So I'm going to go into my math folder, and again, just going to go to New, Folder, and I'm going to title this folder Unit 1 Fractions. And I'm going to color code that blue because it is math. I'm creating a second folder. And going to change that to blue. So you can get a feel for the fact that as the year goes on, I'm going to be adding folders for each unit within my mathematics class. Within the unit, you can click on this. So I'm going to go back to Unit 1 Fractions. I'm going to create another folder, and that is going to be Class Notes. And I'm going to create that, and once again, right-click and color code that blue. And then again, folder, test review, and color code that. So now, if you take a look at the top here of my screen, you can see that I'm in my drive, I'm in Gino's digital binder, I'm in the subject of math, and I am in Unit 1 Fractions. And within that, I have set up a folder for his class notes and for any test reviews. I can also, if I wanted to give him a test digitally using Google Forms, what I can do is even create a folder for tests and quizzes. And color code that to blue. Now I'm going to go back out to Gino's binder and just go into ELA and just show you a few more examples of what you can do with subfolders. So with ELA, I can create a new folder. For each of the novels that we're reading. Okay, color coding that. I can create a new folder for any projects that we're working on. And if I go back to the original binder, I have all my subjects here. And let me show you math. As you can see, as I add folders, it's going to go chronologically backwards. So as I add Unit 3 in here, that's going to be the first thing that the student sees. Another good thing about this and having a binder available digitally is, especially if a student is one to lose papers or have an exploding binder of papers or not really know where to find something, if you're doing a review, say for MCAS or a mid-year review, all of the notes and tests and everything would be inside their digital binder, organized by unit, and would be very easy to find. So it's also a very good comprehensive review, or a place where you or the student can go and access a lot of information without having to spend hours looking for it. It's all in one place and can serve as a review, mid-year, end of year, prep for standardized testing, or even, guiding the student to say, hey, go back into your digital binder and look at how to find a common denominator. And the student would know, okay, we learned that in Unit 1, let me go back to my fractions notes and be able to find it there. So now I want to share out Gino's binder. To do so, I just need to go into the main binder page. So click on the binder. I need to click the down arrow and click share. And if I am the owner of the folder, I'm going to share with the student. So and I want to share with the special ed teacher. And keep in mind, right now, both Gino and the special ed teacher have editing privileges. And you can change that at any moment by clicking Can View instead of Can Edit. The other thing I want to point out is if you are the owner of the folder and you're sharing with the student, the color coding will not transfer over. So you will have color coding on your Google Drive, but if you're sharing it with the student, you'll have to go ahead and the student will have to color code everything on their end. And that's easy enough to do. You just have to, sit down with them. It takes 5 minutes and color code on their end. However, if the student is the owner of the folder and is sharing it out with you, they will have the color coding, and you will have to go in, and if you so choose, you will have to color code things on your end as well. So again, the color coding does not transfer, but is easy enough to do on whatever end you need to do it on. So right now I'm sharing the entire folder with both Gino and with the special ed person. I'm just going to click send. Now let's say I only want to share a folder with the specific teacher who's teaching that subject. So let's say I have Gino for homeroom, and he has a different social studies teacher. I can just go into the social studies folder, click the down arrow, and click share here. And as you can see, the entire binder is shared with Gino. But I can just add the social studies teachers and share that by clicking send. I can also share the entire folder with Gino's parents, and to do that, click down, click share. But instead of giving Gino's parents editing privileges, I would like to share the binder with them, but I would like to give them view-only privileges. So I'm going to go to Can View and share that with them. And then just click Send. There is also an advanced setting here that I'm just going to show you by clicking Advanced. If I go down to this little checkbox down here, I can prevent editors. Okay, so if I've given someone editing privileges, which here I've given Gino because I'm the owner of the folder, I can prevent editors from changing access to the folder and adding new people. So he won't be able to add new people to see the folder. Only I will be able to do that, but that's only if I am the owner of the folder. If the folder is created in Gino's account, he would have the control to either check or uncheck this box. So you want to keep that in mind when you're deciding who is going to own the folder and be in charge of it. Right now, this student has editing privileges on anything that I put in the binder. But what if I want to go in and actually change that to make it assignment or folder specific? I can do that. So I'm going to go into Math, Unit 1, and I'm going to go into the Tests and Quizzes folder. And if you know Google, you know that this little person means that the folder is shared. I'm going to go into that folder, click the down arrow here, and go to where it says Share. So it tells me that it is shared with Gino. So I'm going to click on Gino, and it's telling me that he can edit, but I don't want him to be able to edit anything in this folder. So I'm just going to go down to Can View, and I'm going to save the changes. Click Done. On that very same note, if I ever want to remove a person that I've shared the folder with, I can just go into Share, click on Shared With, and then click the little X, and it will no longer share with that person. So the first way to add papers to a digital binder is for the student to do it himself. And so let's just say Gino is working on a poetry project for ELA. He needs to go into his ELA folder, into his poetry project folder, and then he's going to click on New, Google Doc. And it's going to ask him if he wants to create in a share folder. And if you can remember, this folder is shared with his ELA teacher, his special ed teacher, and Gino himself. So it's telling him that the created item will have the same sharing permissions as the selected folder because the document is in the folder. And he's going to click OK. So now a Google Doc is going to be opened for him, and he is going to start work on his first poem for his poetry project. Now, as his teacher, if I go back into my drive and I click on his ELA folder and I go into Poetry Project, I can see that he has begun work on his poetry project, poem number 1. Now, because the folder is shared with me and with the special ed teacher, I am able to go in and comment, as is she, on Gino's work, and Gino is able to respond. So not only is the poetry project poem in his folder, in his digital binder, but it's also in a place where I can give him direct feedback within that platform. The next way to get papers into a digital binder is to actually share them or put them into the student's binder yourself. So this is a writing prompt I created for women in the American Revolution. So there are 2 ways that I could share this with my student. I could either click share and then share it with Gino and give him view only privileges. So that he can just have that assignment in his folder and be able to work from it. And then if I click send, that will allow Gino to put it into his social studies folder himself. So you can see there are varying levels of freedom with this, and actually it's something, with a student with executive functioning needs, you want to be able to scaffold organizational behavior and be able to allow them to start off with a foundation of how to organize, but then as time goes on, put the onus more on them with as they learn and with repetition and habit, give them the option to organize themselves. Okay, so I could send that to Gino, or I could actually take this assignment and click on this little folder, and I'm going to click move this item, and I'm going to go to my drive, and I'm going to go into Gino's binder. Now keep in mind, I'm the owner of it. If Gino was the owner, I would go into shared with me. I'm going to go into social studies, and there is a specific folder for Unit 7 American Revolution, and I'm going to move it there. I am going to just add it to Unit 7 because it's in 3 other folders. And now if I go to Gino's binder over here, go into social studies, Unit 7, the assignment should be there. There's the writing prompt. So I can either share that assignment with Gino, or I can go ahead and just put it directly into his folder from my drive. Now I have just a math worksheet that I've a PDF that I've gotten from a website on the internet, and I want to assign it to Gino for homework. So to do that, I just go into my drive, okay, and I just type in PDF, and it just happens to call up the latest PDF, which is the fractions adding PDF. Let me click on it. There it is. Okay, and now I am going to just put it into Gino's binder. And I'm in Unit 1 fractions, and this is homework. So I'm going to click and drag. Into Gino's binder. Now, when Gino opens his homework binder or homework folder, he will not be able to actually work on the PDF as is. However, he can print it out at home, and he can bring it back to school. And finally, if I have an assignment that I would like Gino or any student to work on in my drive that I want to keep as a master, all I need to do is just find the item, right-click on it, and make a copy of it. And then I can share the copy, this copy I've made of the winter bird unit, with Gino. So to do that, all I need to do is just go into his science folder, into his bird unit, and click and drag there. Science folder in his binder, and click on bird unit. I should see the assignment there, and there it is. So digital binders allow students with executive functioning and organizational challenges a way to organize themselves without having to exchange papers. And this is great in the way that they can access all of their documents and all of their files from anywhere, from their phones, from their home computer, from school, from an iPad, just as long as they have that account set up and the binder set up. They can exchange papers and homework with you without having to actually risk the fact that it's going to change hands and get lost, and avoid the forever exploding binder where the child cannot find anything. This helps them a little bit to streamline that process. And as you have seen in the video, you can give them as much freedom or as little freedom and help as they need, and you can kind of work up to the point where they are managing the binder by themselves. By giving them ownership and teaching them how to share. And so the possibilities are definitely endless with the digital binder. And I find that it works great in conjunction with an actual binder. And again, the color coding works very well. So I hope this tutorial helped you and your students be able to set up a digital binder of your own.